It was about time. After years of waiting, Fanatec finally released their QR2 system to fix long-standing issues. Let's get everything out of the way first. The QR2 system works as advertised, probably even better than that, but I don't think it will matter that much, at least not as of this moment. More about that at the conclusions. For the wheelbase side, there are two options. There's the M-type for the DD1 and DD2, and the C-type for the DD Pro and also the CSL DD. For the wheels, there are three quick releases. The QR2 Lite, which will be limited to 8 Nm. Then there's the QR2 and the QR2 Pro, which are basically the same and then will unleash the full power of the DD1 and DD2 wheelbases. These will be compatible with the lineup of current wheels with some asterisks. The prices, hold on to your socks. The QR2 Lite is $60, the QR2 is $99, and the QR2 Pro is $199. Then on a wheelbase side, it's $70 for the USB-C one, and the M-type will be $149. Also, there's no indication from Fanatec when this transition will actually start or end, and when we'll see exclusive new QR2 wheelbases and wheels being sold in their store. I've asked Fanatec why they took so long developing and releasing this, especially because I'm not seeing any differences between what was released in Sim Racing 2022 for us to check out and whatever we have now. The QR2 is supposed to be the next quick release for Fanatec for the next decade or so, and it will cover the new wheelbases whenever they come out. And speaking of it, where are the Club Sport wheelbases? They really wanted to make sure whatever it came out after all of these revisions, that was it. That will be the QR2 for the next 10 years or so. I am told that they have been like through 30 or so revisions of this, and just this year a couple of them. So whatever I saw in Sim Racing Expo 2022 was already outdated. And what we have here is a CNC machined unit made out of a single block of aviation grade billet aluminum, and they use a 5-axis CNC machine to do so. And you know, this thing, you know, this shiny aspect they have, this is nickel coating. Scaling up CNC machining, we have to remember this is a CNC machined coming from a billet aluminum. This is not cast. This is not something too easy to do, and it's very, very costly. It's much better to have this perfect when you send it to the factory floor, and that will be it. You don't want to mess up when you have rented all of that space. I can only imagine what is costing to build this, how much floor space they have if you want to have any numbers out of this. This M-type is the most annoying one to do because of these cables. First, you need to undo the clamp until the old QR slides out, and at the back, as you can see, there are a couple of cables over here. One is long, and of course, this one will be the short one. Previously, the cables, they were color-coded, so you know which one to connect to which. Though the one I have here is exactly the same colors for some reason, and for some reason Fanatec told me that there will be two in the wild, one with the correct color codes and one just like this. But then again, it is very simple to connect. Long wire with short wire on the wheelbase and short wire with the long wire in the wheelbase, and it should be okay. If you do not connect it correctly, there won't be a problem, any problem. The wheel won't be detected, and that's basically it. But the word of warning, it will automatically subscribe you to this channel. This is the Diecast version. It has this really pretty, almost gunmetal anodized finish. It's basically the same color as the wheelbase, and I can tell you, as a matte car owner, I approve of this color scheme. The new C-top also comes with this new clamp ring, and the new clamp ring design will fix the problem with the disconnections as it shares the torque much better between sides. It is similar to the DD1 design. I've asked Fanatec if they are going to make this wheel clamp available to the QR11ers that want to fix their shaft without doing the upgrade. They told me they wouldn't know as of this moment. They are not totally sure that this will work with reliability with the old QR1. This is the QR2 Pro, the top of the line. It's a really beautiful piece. Let's take some time to appreciate the artwork. This is a beautiful, beautiful finish. This gold finish, it's also common on the Club Sport ones. It happens on the podiums. I had the same finish, at least I think it's the same finish that we saw, for example, on the BMW GT3 wheel. This is twice the price as the base QR2, and for that what we get here is a FIA quick release done with machined aluminum CNC. So if you are one of those sim racers that likes to gloat about how real sim racing is for some internet points and you have the best things ever in the world, I think this is the one that you really should get. I guess might as well just do it because this is the same homologated quick release system used on the BMW M4 GT3 and GT4 cars. This weighs 420 grams compared to the Club Sport quick release, which weighs 290. The FIA homologation is yet another part why this took so long. I guess they want to get this right out of the gate, and of course the CNC and all of that stuff, because they want to have something that works, and it's not an issue for the drivers when you have something that essentially pops out in the middle of the race and creates a huge crash. That probably would not sit well with Fanatec's shareholders, so might as well spend more, wait more time for all the damage that it does. But if you release something, do it right. This is the regular QR2. It's this design. It weighs exactly the same as the other one, minus or plus 5 grams or something like that. The weight is pretty much the same. It doesn't have the construction bells and whistles. This will be cast. There are some CNC machined aluminum parts, and there's no Teflon coating for easy inserting, but honestly, I didn't have any issues and I didn't see any applicable differences between both. For normal sim racing use, it is as rigid as the QR2 Pro is. In terms of finish, it has this matte coating, which I find really pretty. It does remind me a little bit of my car. Both the metal quick releases will have this small movement side to side. This, I am told, is within tolerances, and to be honest, I haven't seen any problems whatsoever while using this. It doesn't move, and you really can't hear this. This doesn't make this sound whenever you are racing with this. So, you know, metal with metal, it is fine and it will work. I didn't see any problems. Lastly, the light. This is as important as the regular QR2 because, you know, the $200 QR2 Pro will be cool, but not for everybody. And this will be very, very popular. A lot of wheels will be under the CSL lineup, and a lot of people, whenever this comes out, will choose this. There are a couple of interesting things. First of all, I kind of prefer the movement of this against the QR2 metals. It feels more snappy, but then again, this is lighter than the other ones. This is at 220 grams, so half the weight. It's slightly more heavier than the QR1 Lite, about 50 grams or so. There are two parts of this. This will be the core of it, and the core of it is made out of recycled carbon fiber, and it is extremely rigid. The ring, the quick release ring, this is made out of a tough ABS, compatible with all the CSL lineup. So if you have Club Sport wheels or podium wheels, this won't be compatible because of this. And also it will be compatible with the Formula 1 Esports V2. For the quick release on the wheel side, it is incredibly straightforward, but you just need to pay attention to one thing. The only thing you need to pay attention to is if the wheels will have this plastic spacer or not. For example, this wheel, the McLaren wheel, didn't. And I'm told by Fanatec that most of the wheels that be coming out of the factory from the last couple of months or so should be already having this on the wheels themselves, so you don't need to really do anything besides just taking out the old quick release and inserting the new one. The most annoying thing about this M-Type DD1 connectors is that attaching them, it isn't easy. So open up some lock-picking lawyer videos, use a tool to create some tension in the short cable to keep it in place, pressure on first pin, nothing on second, connect the cable, and it's done. And we've easily opened the master lock. Get the cables inside and align the clamp with the quick release grooves, then torque it up evenly. I don't have a torque wrench, so apply some muscle to it. If you don't, the steering shaft may lose alignment. For the CSL DD, it is easier. Remove the clamp. Mine was extremely torqued up, probably the reason why I never had issues with it. Remove the steering shaft, the clamp, insert the new clamp and the shaft, and you'll need to force it a bit and insert a new one following the grooves. My mind isn't dirty, yours is. Push the clamp to the border, align the clamp grooves, and torque it up. I've also noticed that Fanatec on the manual has an undisclosed wheelbase sides quick release too, called the Light, but I wasn't told anything about this. There's no need for firmware upgrades when you change this. It's basically all transparent to the firmware and software. Here's some showing. First of all, you really don't need to put the ring back to attach the wheel. As long as it aligns, it will have the Fanatec logo at this top. This will be the dead top center. Keep it on center to keep the wheel up, and then you just push it over, and that's it. In terms of stability, it is basically next level for Fanatec. So I am moving like as much as I can. There's more sway from the wheel itself because this is plastic and not metal. And as you can probably see, even the rig is moving more than the shaft. Inserting, it's basically the same. Just keep it centered, moves, it attaches. And now let's put some force into it. I think this is good enough. Basically, the steering wheel is moving more because the steering wheel isn't really the most rigid out there. If you want to get something more rigid, you have to go to motorsports. This is just sim racing, of course. The wheel deck moves. If I do it side by side, you know, the rig moves. The wheel deck is moving quite a lot. I'm putting a lot of force into it. I mean, I'm putting a lot of force into this. You can see this is pretty solid. Last one, CSL Hub V2 quick release light. Inserting it, same thing. And in terms of movement, it does move, I think, just a slight bit more. But as you can see, for the force that I'm applying, exactly the same I'm applying or have applied with the other ones. It's just very, very good for what it's built of. It's basically carbon fiber and the ABS ring. It's pretty good. I think everybody will be happy with this. As for the USB-C version of the wheelbase, same deal in terms of usability, but you can see that in this case the finishing will start to scratch. There is already a scratch over there, not very deep, but you know, since this is anodized, it's not going to be as resilient as something that is nickel plated. Basically, you just push it in and it really inserts quite well. In terms of rigidity, it's completely night and day since the old type or the QR1, and you can see that, you know, I am bringing everything back together. I think this new clamp does a job really nicely. Same deal, very strong, very sturdy. I'm moving more the plate than I am the wheelbase. I don't see any issues with this wheelbase as of this moment. Same deal. There is a little more movement, but I think it might be coming from the connection between the quick release and the back of the steering wheel, but I'm not finding any issues. The McLaren wheel is an excellent test for the quick release 2. It's a CSL entry wheel that is compatible with all the torque of the DD1 if you use these new quick releases and if you use the Club Sport before. The stability with this wheel, even though it's a plastic back wheel, it's pretty good. It's definitely better than a QR1. Not it didn't matter much, but you'd sometimes feel the quick release going, you know, yawing a little bit on this. There isn't really that unless you really force the wheel, because there will be some movement on the wheel itself if you use a lot of force and you try to make it move. Since this is a $200 wheel using the QR2 Pro, I think it's money pretty much wasted. It will be good to use with the regular 100s quick release, because there's really no point paying for an FIA approved steering wheel for a steering wheel like this that's basically made out of plastic. It's just spending money that you really don't need to spend. Just like this lap, big improvement over the other one in terms of usability and stability, especially when resting. In terms of usability when using it, you notice a little bit if you try to hunt for, you know, slide to side sway on the old one. On this one, there's nothing like that, so it's tremendously improved. So we'll have a more dynamic feel now on the steering wheel with Assetto Corsa, as the wheel is going to go more side to side for the counter steering and all of that. Guys, this is not about my drifting skills. Those certainly need some improvement, but as you can see, from the secondary cam, there is definitely improvement on the stability. And, you know, if you do rallying and drifting, having an excellent quick release is really important. In GT, I would say not so much, because, you know, you tend to be less dynamic with your steering wheel. There's less side-to-side corrections, so there isn't like a massive change of torque. It's good, you know, to have something that is stable, but when you do drifting or when you do rallying, you are always doing big corrections all the time. And having a steering wheel that is stable on the wheel shaft is absolutely something really important. And I would say, at least in my opinion, with my horrible skills, that, you know, something like this quick release system now, that is, you know, it's very much improved. Like quick release time, connect it in, exactly the same thing. It will reduce the quick release torque to 8 Newton meters, or the torque delivered from a base to 8 Newton meters. And in terms of usability, especially with this iTorque wheelbase, is, you know, as good as the other one is. Of course, you feel less torque, but it is as stable. And most importantly, it doesn't wobble from the shaft. It's more, there's more give in the back plate of the steering wheel. You know, any wobble that you put because you're doing so much force, you know it's wobbling because of you. In this case, I think for what it is, it does its job really well. As for the DD Pro, in terms of stability on the wheel shaft, I'm not feeling any differences than I felt with the DD1. This is probably placebo, but for DD1 I didn't feel like that. But for the CSL DD, or DD Pro in this case, I'm feeling slightly more effects on the wheel, on a force feedback, but once again, this could be very much placebo. The wheel feels excellent. Super impressed with the improvement I'm feeling here for the QR2 on the CSL DD. In the case of this hub, we can see now that this is already going over the torque limit. It's not slow, but you can feel it's not as strong as it was with the DD1, which is, you know, normal. But of course, we are here to talk about the stability, not so much the torque, even if though these QRs are heavier. The stability of the system, the QR2 system for drifting in a CSL DD, is absolutely commendable. I mean, there is definitely no lack of stability. There is no yaw from the system like it could happen with the QR1. Need to be careful with this guy. But it is noticeable, you know, the torque levels not being exactly the same, and the torque levels being a little bit higher would be good, especially with a system like this, with the Club Sport hub. That requires a little more torque, but in terms of speed, it's not too bad. So going with the light configuration, the light QR2 tends to be important to test this, because it will inform users whenever this comes out as an option, or if you want to upgrade your system, if it's viable, if there's any significant improvements over the QR1. And I can tell you, yeah, there are significant improvements. But in terms of real-term operation, with the 8 Newton meters, there is really no discernible difference that you can feel through the wheel between the metal quick releases and this one. Side-to-side sway in this, I don't feel any yaw or pivoting at the center point. It's basically stuck there, and it feels extremely solid. I mean, there's really not much to complain in terms of operation. There is nothing wrong with this, and in reality, it's extremely good. Once again, this system does everything it's advertised. It does what's on the tin. It's at the level or above anything that I've tried in sim racing in terms of stability and usability. I still have to put everything side to side to test it between Asetek and Motz's, but I think this is more rigid than the NRG style that is implemented on the Motz's. But you know what, at a certain point when everything is rigid, and it's rigid when you use it and put a lot of force into it, it doesn't really matter if it's more rigid or just less rigid. It's important that you have something that is super stable and you can't complain. The quick release is super easy to use, and even this QR2 light is extremely good. The M-Type wheelbase side and the QR2 Pro are works of art. The prices, I believe, are more or less consistent to what we have now. The QR2 metal one is basically the same price that we had before with the QR1 Club Sports quick release. The prices of the plastic one, they might be a little bit too high for everybody's tastes, but I think the price is fair. Furthermore, and this is my opinion, I'm not totally convinced if the Fanatec CSL DD and DD Pro users should upgrade to the QR2 system. Not because it's not a big step in terms of stability and whatever, because it is, but because the Fanatec CSL DD family is the entry level on Fanatec's ecosystem. And when you think about the prices of Fanatec CSL DD against the entry cost of getting this new QR2, which is the bare minimum $130 if you buy the wheelbase side and wheelbase and a wheel upgrade, and you bought it for $199 at minimum, it's going to be a huge chunk of the cost. Transition periods are what they are, but if you are into the Fanatec ecosystem and you want to stay there for a long while and you have a bunch of wheels, you want to do an upgrade, maybe it will be worthwhile. But for those who only have like 1 or 2 wheels and are perfectly content with QR1, I'm not sure that this upgrade will be worthwhile for them. The launch would always be bittersweet. The longer they took, the more it was going to hurt. It's more expectation, more anticipation, and then the competition brings something that fills the gap very well. So it's a little bit like Half-Life 3.